الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر الله أكبر أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله أشهد أن محمدًا رسول الله حي على الصلاة حي على الصلاة حي على الفلاح حي على الفلاح الله أكبر الله أكبر لا إله إلا الله.
إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهدي الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلل فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله حق تقاته ولا تموتن إلا وأنتم مسلمون. يا أيها الناس اتقوا ربكم الذي خلقكم من نفس واحدة وخلق منها زوجها وبث منهما رجالا كثيرا ونساء واتقوا الله الذي تساءلون به والأرحام إن الله كان عليكم رقيبا. يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. أما بعد، فقد قال سبحانه وتعالى في القرآن الكريم بعد بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم: والعصر إن الإنسان لفي خسر إلا الذين آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala swears in the Quran by time when he says wal-asr. But then he subhanahu wa ta'ala follows it up with a very ominous, a very scary proclamation. He says wal-asr, that by time man or mankind is at loss. إِنَّ الْإِنسَانَ لَفِي خُسْرٍ. But then he subhanahu wa ta'ala, out of his mercy, lays out 4 conditions which prevent certain individuals or groups from being at loss. When he subhanahu wa ta'ala says, إِلَّا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا, except for those who believe, وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ, and do righteous deeds, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالْحَقِّ, and enjoin that which is the truth, وَتَوَاصَوْا بِالصَّبْرِ, and enjoin or promote that which is patience and perseverance. Now this surah, although very short, only 3 ayat, is so profound that Imam Shafi'i rahimahullah says that if a believer was to just study this verse and really understand it, it would suffice for him as a way of life based off of the Islamic principles. Now, given the amazing time we live in, full of fitna and trials and so much confusion, as Muslims, it is absolutely imperative for us to understand these ayat, but not only understand but to act upon them, if we are really interested in attaining salvation and the blessings and the barakah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Now Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala takes this oath by time. And the question is, and it's a very important question, why, as time progresses, are we, humankind, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala doesn't say Muslims or the non-Muslims, He says everyone. Why is it that everyone is at loss? It's very important to know. Now, according to some of the Mufassirun, they laid out a few points. One of the first being that our growth and development, our life as a whole is encompassed within this boundary we call time. And as the days and the months and the years pass, our spiritual and our physical, our mental potentialities, they start to decrease. They start to degrade a little bit. Now, some of the older folks here know that we can't move like we used to move when we were younger. Our mind is not as sharp as it used to be. So with every breath we take, in essence, we're dwindling away. Now, another point that the Mufassirun say is that this time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted us is a capital. It's an invaluable capital that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given us to invest. Now, we have two options. Either we can waste it, or we can invest wisely. And if we invest wisely, we know there's no limit to the return because we know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Al-Kareem, He's the most generous. But if we waste our time and we waste this capital, not only because, keep in mind, this is the only resource or the only capital that once it is gone, unlike money, unlike relationships, unlike anything else, once it is gone, it can never come back. So not only do we lose it, but we also risk acquiring a plethora, a mountain of sins at the same time. And there was a scholar who really understood this when he was observing a merchant who was selling ice. And he said, if this merchant was not diligent and was not wary and conscious of his capital, which was the ice, he knew it would melt away. So he had to be very diligent about it. And one of the final points before we move forward that some of the Mufassirun have said is that this relationship between time and humans being at loss indicates towards the rise and the fall of nations and individuals throughout history. When we look back, that if these individuals and if these nations did not adhere to the four conditions that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala lays out in this surah, that ultimately it led to their demise. But what I want to do, inshallah, is I want to focus today on these conditions. We want to be positive. We want to know what is it that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts out there so that we are not of those who are at loss. And I ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to not make us of those people. The first of these conditions is al-iman, to believe. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuha alladhina amanu aminu, oh you who believe, believe. Now to us, that may not make sense because if you're a believer, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala here is talking to the believers, He says, believe. Ibn Kathir rahimahullah says, to possess that which you already own is impossible because you already have it. So either you're a believer or you're a disbeliever. So how does this work? Well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, أَحَسِبَ النَّاسُ أَن يُتْرُكُوا أَن يَقُولُوا آمَنَّا وَهُمْ لَا يُفْتَنُونَ. Do the people think that they're going to be left just to say they believe and they won't be tried? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also says, أَمْ حَسِبْتُمْ أَن تَدْخُلُوا الْجَنَّةِ وَلَمَّا يَأْتِكُمْ مَثَلُ الَّذِينَ خَلَوْا مِن قَبْلِكُمْ. Do the people think that they're going to just go to Jannah without being tried like those have been tried before them? Because we know, even in the dunya, any success, anything worth attaining is going to require a struggle. It's going to require effort. It's going to require work. And so that we are not at loss, we have to understand that. You see, there are different levels of belief. It's not just one standard level. You say, I believe and that's it. No. Because when we are afflicted with a problem or a trial or something happens to us, we shake. We get scared. We worry. Sometimes we forget about Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We look at our bank accounts. We look at lawyers. Who can help us? And it's not to say that's bad. We need to use the resources available to us. But when we look at those who came before us, the Sahaba, the Tabi'een, and even those in recent history, such as Al-Hajj Malik al-Shabbaz, as we call Malcolm X, these were people who went through trials that some of us couldn't even imagine, but they were not shaken by it. They had backbones of steel because of that iman. Now there's a particular Sahabi that every time I think about the idea or the concept of iman, he comes to my mind. And this is a Sahabi who goes by the name of Abu Dahdah, radiyallahu anhu. Now, during his time, there was an orphan boy who inherited a garden. And this orphan boy wanted to build a wall around his garden. But in the way stood a date palm, a tree, which belonged to his neighbor. And he knew that if he tried to build the wall around the date palm, it would compromise the structural integrity of that wall. So the orphan boy went to his neighbor and he said, look, oh such and such, give me that tree or sell me that tree. He said, no, that's my tree and I refuse to sell. And so he tried, but he wouldn't budge. So the orphan boy was upset. He went back to Rasulullah ﷺ complaining. He said, Ya Rasulullah, this is what took place and I really want this tree. So upon hearing this, Rasulullah ﷺ, and you can imagine how busy the Prophet is, sallallahu alaihi wasallam. But he went with the orphan boy and he went to this neighbor and he said, look, give the boy the tree or sell the boy the tree. He said, no, this is my tree and it's his right. And so the Prophet ﷺ countered with an offer. He said, look, if you give him this tree, I guarantee you a tree in Jannah. Now, who wouldn't refuse that offer? In other words, give him this little piece of the dunya, and you have the Jannah, you have the akhirah. But he said, no, this is my tree and I want it. Now he says he believes, but did he really believe? Because anybody who has even an ounce of iman would say absolutely. And no matter how much they tried, he wouldn't budge. So upon hearing the news, Abu Dahdah radiyallahu anhu went to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam and he said, Ya Rasulullah, if I get you that tree, does that offer still stand? He said, Naam, yes it does. He said, okay. So he went to the neighbor and he said, oh such and such, I want that tree. The neighbor looked at him and said, I didn't give it to Rasulullah, the Prophet of Allah. What makes you think I'm going to give it to you? He said, look, do you know who I am and what I have? He said, yeah, you're Abu Dahdah. You have gardens full of trees. To kind of put that, and some narrations, it says up to 60 gardens full of trees. Now to put that in perspective for some of us today, imagine having 60 mansions with backyards and swimming pools and garages with cars and, BMWs and whatnot. He said, yeah, you have all of that. He said, how about I make you an offer? How about I give you all my gardens for that one tree? Think about that. How about I give you all my mansions and my BMWs and all my cars for that bike you have? So the neighbor looked at him, he said, are you making a mockery out of me because this is what I have and that's what you have? Are you just trying to laugh at me? Abu Dahdah radiyallahu anhu said, try me. And they made the deal. And he gave him everything he had for a tree. And he went back to Rasulullah ﷺ and he said, Ya Rasulullah, here's the tree. And Rasulullah ﷺ said, oh, Ya Abu Dahdah, initially I promised you a tree, but I look into your garden and it's full of trees in Jannah. Allahu Akbar. This is a man who understood. And he understood and he believed. His heart was not just for the dunya. He had success in the dunya, but his heart was for the akhirah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave him that which his heart desired. But we know that belief alone is not enough. In fact, some of the Sahaba came to Rasulullah ﷺ complaining about a woman. They said, Ya Rasulullah, there is this woman, she prays, nobody can keep up with how much she's praying. She fasts, nobody can keep up with her. She does all these ibadat, these spiritual rituals, and nobody can keep up, mashallah. She reads so much Quran. But she backbites. She talks about other people when they're not around. And what did Rasulullah ﷺ say? Hiya fin nar. She is in the fire. And then they mentioned another woman. They said, Ya Rasulullah, this woman, she prays, she fasts, she reads Quran, she does her ibadat, maybe average, maybe a little better. But Ya Rasulullah, she's a sweetheart. The believers are safe from her and her words when they're not around her. And Rasulullah ﷺ said, Hiya fil Jannah. She is in Jannah. So it goes to show you that belief or faith is of substance when it impacts your character. And it's only the first of these conditions. And this leads us to the second of the conditions which prevent us from being at loss, which is al-amal as-salih, the righteous deeds or the righteous actions. Now Rasulullah ﷺ was once asked, Ya Rasulullah, an ahlaka wa fina as-salihun. This is an important question, especially in the society that we live in. Ya Rasulullah, is it possible that we may be destroyed and amongst us are those who are righteous? قال نعم. He said, yes, it's possible. إذا كثرت الخبث. If khabath, which is impurity, immorality, corruption, becomes widespread and it proliferates amongst your society, then it's absolutely possible that you may be destroyed. Now you don't have to be a genius to look around our society today and see that this corruption and this immorality has been proliferating for quite some time. But we're still here. Why? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says towards the end of Surah Hud, He says, وَمَا كَانَ رَبُّكَ لَيُهْلِكَ الْقُرَى بِظُلْمٍ وَأَهْلُهَا مُصْلِحُونَ. That your Lord would not destroy the people unjustly if amongst them are those who are muslihun. So the question is, who are the muslihun? Because we understood if there is salihun, the righteous amongst the society, they can still be destroyed if this corruption is so widespread. So who are these muslihun that are preventing the society or preventing the wrath of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala from falling on the society? These muslihun are also righteous, but they are reformers. They are individuals who had faith, and their faith impacted their will to make a difference within themselves, within their family, and within the community at large. They were individuals who cared, and they did something about it. The stories that we hear about the heroes of Islam, those like Umar bin Khattab radiallahu anhu, Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu, and the likes, are all people who are muslihun. So if you want to go about your day being selfish, thinking of yourself, lackadaisical, without a concern in the world for your brothers and sisters in your community and the ummah at large, then be mindful that Rasulullah ﷺ said it's possible that destruction may be imminent. My brothers and sisters, we're the people of Islah. We're the people who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has made the caretakers of humanity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرُ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ, that you are the best of nations sent to people. But this is a conditional statement. You think just because you say you believe and you're a Muslim, you're the best of nations? No. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala follows that by saying, كُنْتُمْ خَيْرُ أُمَّةٍ أُخْرِجَتْ لِلنَّاسِ تَأْمُرُونَ بِالْمَعْرُوفِ, that you enjoin or promote that which is good, وَتَنْهَوْنَ عَنِ الْمُنْكَرِ, and you reject or you repel that which is bad and evil. وَتُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ, and you believe in Allah. What I always find interesting about this ayah is that whenever Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts together belief and action, He always puts belief first and then action. إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ. How many times do we read that in the Quran? But here when he mentions that you are the best of nations sent down to people, he mentions the actions and then he says, تُؤْمِنُونَ بِاللَّهِ. You believe in Allah. And I always found that to be a very interesting point. Because at one point, this ummah was a global leader, was the world leader in education, in technology, in the social sciences, in arts, in politics, you name it, we were the leaders. This ummah used to take entire continents out of the dark age. Why? Because they were people who believed and they were people who acted on it. During the Khalifa of Umar bin Abdul Aziz radiallahu anhu, there was a Muslim who was taken captive in the Byzantine Empire, the Byzantine land. Now to him, he was when the news reached Umar bin Abdul Aziz radiallahu anhu, he was furious. He said, a Muslim taken captive somewhere else in a foreign land? He was so filled with indignation and anger, he couldn't take it, because that was not a common thing. So he wrote a letter to the head of that empire, which was one of the strongest empires at the time. And it said, "Oh, such and such, before you put this letter down, you will free that Muslim. Or by Allah, I will send you an army which starts where you are and ends where I am." Allahu Akbar. Look at the dignity. Look at what your status is when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala supports you. But how many today in the non-Muslim lands are following the sunnah of Umar bin Abdul Aziz radiallahu anhu? And how many Muslims are taken captive? This is what happens when you don't follow these conditions. Then you are at loss. My brothers and sisters, if you believe and you act for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and the betterment of humanity, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make you the champions. أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله لي ولكم فاستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم. الحمد لله وحده والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله نبينا محمد وعلى آله وأصحابه أجمعين. Now time doesn't permit me to go to the next two conditions. So what I want to do inshaAllah is I want to revisit the two conditions that we discussed about belief and about action. But I want to discuss it in a slightly different perspective. Something maybe a little bit more concrete. Because we tend to hear about those from the past, and sometimes we feel that it's not very relatable, that these are just individuals that we look up to, we read about, and it's fairy tale. But there are heroes today, but we don't hear about them. There are heroes today, we don't see them on the news. There are heroes today that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows about. And these are people who exemplify the essence of Iman and actions. A lot of these people are within our community and we don't know about them. In fact, I remember there was a brother in my local masjid down in South Florida in the Fort Lauderdale area. We would come every day and find that the masjid was sparkling clean, and we just never knew why. It was clean every single day. We just kept wondering, who's doing this? And then by accident one day, one of the brothers went to the masjid because he had to stop by to pray salah or something at a very odd time. And he found this brother, who's a retired dentist, vacuuming the floors at the masjid. And nobody knew. Only this brother found out by accident. Maybe to us that's not a big deal, but to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what could be his status? Now, I visited refugee camps in several countries, and I've sat with individuals who had absolutely nothing. When I say absolutely nothing, I mean they lived in tents made out of tarps in the freezing weather, where their wood that they used to heat their homes was soaked because of the flooding, so they didn't have any heat. And wallahi, they began every single sentence with Alhamdulillah, and they ended every single sentence with Alhamdulillah. And I looked at myself and I thought, man, I complain about the most trivial things. And here, they don't even have a fraction of what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed me with. Yet I'm the one complaining. And the last example is, and this is something you may have heard me say before, it's a story that always touches me. In Yemen, you know, many of us are familiar with the crisis there. There are UN workers that go to Yemen so that they can pick up kids from the streets who are stray, who don't have families. And so what happens in Yemen, and this is where I really understood faith. There are mothers in Yemen who, when they see these UN workers, because of the conditions that they live in, push their kids away. And they tell their kids, I don't know you and you don't know me. Why? So that this stranger, who usually is not Muslim, will take their kid and provide them with a life somewhere else that they otherwise couldn't provide for them. Now I ask you, what is Iman? And what kind of Iman is needed to do something like that, to push your kids away? That's their trial. We have a trial as well. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has blessed us, but has given us a trial that's very difficult to see, because it's covered in the blessings that we have. It's just a matter of how are we going to do it? How are we going to use it? So I ask, do we believe? And if we believe, are we going to be amongst those who are the muslihun? And last but not least, my brothers and sisters, before I end, inshallah, I'm here today on behalf of Islamic Relief USA, but more so I'm here on behalf of these individuals around the world, our brothers and sisters who are in need. Last year, approximately 1,000 orphans lost their sponsorship due to individuals who were not able to renew their orphan sponsorships in order to take care of these orphans. So today I'm coming here on behalf of them. And I wanted to invite all of you, inshallah, next week. We're going to be having a program here at the AMCC with Sheikh Yasir Qadi. Dinner will be provided, but it's going to be dedicated to these orphans. Inshallah, we're going to have Q&A and we're going to have a very captivating talk. But we want to make sure that these orphans are supported. And today, before you leave, if you can even sponsor an orphan, even one, it's $43 a month at the very minimum. Or do something. Be of those who Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala writes as the muslihun, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will provide for His slaves. But the question is, will it be through us? So I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieves our brothers and sisters and those who are in need and the orphans around the world, and brings ease and patience to those families who are suffering. I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes us a means of bringing that ease and that relief to them. And I pray Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses this community and the ummah as a whole, and brings us back to our days of izzah and dignity. My respected brothers and sisters, I leave you with the only command Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commands us to do, which He Himself also does. When He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ وَالْمَلَائِكَةُ يُصَلُّونَ عَلَى النَّبِيِّ يَا أَيُّهَا الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا صَلُّوا عَلَيْهِ وَسَلِّمُوا تَسْلِيمًا اللهم صل وسلم على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما صليت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم وبارك على سيدنا محمد وعلى آل سيدنا محمد كما باركت على سيدنا إبراهيم وعلى آل سيدنا إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد اللهم ارحم موتانا وموتى المسلمين الله اشفي مرضانا ومرضى المسلمين اللهم اغفر للمسلمين والمسلمات المؤمنين والمؤمنات الأحياء منهم والأموات اللهم اعتنا في الدنيا حسنة وفي الآخرة حسنة وقينا عذاب النار اللهم انصر المسلمين اللهم انصر المسلمين اللهم انصر المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم ارفع البلاغ عن المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم ارفع البلاغ عن المسلمين في كل مكان اللهم ارفع البلاغ عن المسلمين في كل مكان عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون فاذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله أعلى وأكبر أولى والله يعلم ما تصنعون وأقيموا الصلاة.
Assalamu alaikum. We thank Brother Waleed for such a beautiful khutbah, inshallah. Next week, we'd like to see all of you here. We're going to have a fundraiser by Islamic Relief. Sheikh Yasir Qadi will be doing a talk on life in Barzakh. That's one of his famous lecture series, so he's going to be talking from there. And inshallah, we would like you to sponsor an orphan. You have tickets are available on our website, on the Islamic Relief website, and you can go outside and inshallah buy the tickets at the table. Stop by the table and find about the sponsorship program that we had just heard about. We want you to be tonight is going to be a youth group Islamic Jeopardy game. After Isha, all the young children are invited with their parents. Dinner will be served. There's a chance to win prizes. So bring your children, and it's going to be a fun night, inshallah. Now, one more important thing, that AMCC Board of Director elections are coming up for 3 positions, and we want you to be the paying member of AMCC to vote. Please come forward and ask and inquire about your qualification to participate in the election. If you're not a member of AMCC, please be a part of AMCC membership. If you're not part of one of the management committees, be a part of it so you can lead the AMCC in the future. Membership is only $50 a month, and through your membership, we are able to provide the services, keep the fans and the light open. So inshallah, we would like your support to continue in the future. A request for dua, Muhammad Abdul Malik, who is the father of Zulkarnain Malik. Brother Zulkarnain is in critical condition in a hospital in Pakistan. Please make dua for him. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give him a speedy recovery and make it easy for him and the family. Say Ameen. Please bring your children to the evening Hifz school. It's from 4:30 to 5:30 p.m. Monday through Thursday. And a qualified teacher is teaching, so please bring him to learn Quran and memorize if possible. And also enroll your children for the Sunday school. And please do not forget to stop by at the donation box or the kiosk, and we like your support, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.